what we need from a picture is to portray the actual world that is analog to real, because when the light drops on the film, we capture the moment, we capture the reality, and so he says that a photograph is the final art in that art stages where we first have drawings in Altamira cave where there are some people but only a few sketches or some animals. Then we got the perspective, and with the camera we got the full image, the total image, the real image, and with the motion, as in motion image, motion films, motion video, we got the complete objectivity of reproduction of it. So I put one phrase from his book and from this theory, which is pointed in blue. Other theory that I refer is by studies of David Lewis, who talk about model logic and possible worlds. Because of that theory, where anything is possible if you say that that could be true, I'm going to talk about photographic image as that it has the same status as analog and digital photography. Why is digital photography important? Because it applies all new media and all new techniques, computer technologies, animation, and things like that. So, if we say that analog photograph is same like a digital, but we know that somewhere it isn't, because if we change 1 0 or 1 1 in that chain on zeros and ones, we're making a new real thing. If we stay on the same page where we want to represent reality as we see it with our own eyes, then we can change, we can make new reality, a better reality, and reality better than the reality itself. So I'm talking about dinosaurs just as an example, and because everything started from that movie. So they're hidden by photorealism. So we know that they are not real, but they are made to look as real. And what we as audience look at them, we can start believing it that it's real. That's the main theory of David Lewis. About digital video effects, I refer them as DVE. The problems of digital video effects, which you probably know, is that they really started to be a substitute for good storyline. When you see the movie, which is occupied with film effects, you only see film effects. You don't see digital visual effects. You forgot about the story. You don't know what is important, what's not important, and blockbuster studios are just fighting who is going to have better presentation and with no story. And so the other line is about the development of new technologies that follows the storylines instead of storyline that is being based on technology. So the things switched. Technology started to be more important than the story itself. So science fiction and other genres of movies started to be occupied with digital video effects, which was bad. New ground for digital visual effects is TV. And I took from one book of Sheila T. McLean some of his questions that I transformed them for TV. So these are the questions, and I'll try to respond on every one of them. What is important to say about the narrative? So in the movies, we have a hero. And hero may be a good hero, maybe not, but he has a point, and he's leading us through a story. While in TV, we have a different approach. We don't need a classical hero to learn from digital narrative. If we have, for example, Egyptologist that talks about pyramids in Giza, we don't need the narrative. The narrative itself is that story that is put in the same place where he is. He's finding, he's digging, and making excavations of some things. But digital narrative helps us reconstruct how things looked like before, and things like that. And we don't have a narrative structure like in movies. So the real thing is that in TV, because of its structure, which is quite different than in movies, because the movie is one how would I say, closed storyline, whichever it is. There are, of course, experimental movies which are with no point, if we may say that. Everything has its point, but liberally speaking. So here are the problems for TV. I didn't answer these questions by 1, 2, 3, 4. I explained them all, kind of. I will just refer to visible and invisible effects. Invisible effects are those that we, because of that theory I told you about, we know that there are effects, like dinosaurs, we know that they are not real, but they're made that way so we believe that they are real. So that are invisible effects. We know that they are effects, but we refer them as invisible. So they are self-oriented and things like that. I talked about this hero and the narrative, so I want to explain just a little bit about TV educational shows, because what is important in those stories? Not the narrative in a classical way, but the truth. Some guy who knows everything about pyramids is telling us how things were done, and we believe him. So he's a hero. No blood, no tears, no nothing. He just has a knowledge, and he has the truth. He's put in some space. He's usually a professor, man, usually man, very rare a woman. He sits in some cozy chair in some university, and he talks about like he knows everything. So he's our hero. He's not fighting. He's just fighting with the knowledge. So I made this that a fiction and the faction with facts and fiction together make a digital narrative on TV. So, and I pointed that the narrator is a hero of TV. So that male voice in behind and the things that he says are a narrative structure of a TV show. So, sorry, this is in Serbian. It says television and digital narrative in the title. I point out some few things that I think is important. TV itself is a spectacle. So we watch TV, we watch some reality TV shows, we watch, I don't know, some other shows, news. So everything is spectacle. But when TV gets into learning, and if it used the right way, the digital narrative and the possibilities of digital narrative, it goes to higher standards. And for TV, education is something where it can probably use more and more possibilities than now. If you probably watch who knows how many shows, and what you probably expected and have seen is that you have repetitivity of a show. He told you about Egypt, you already knew about Egypt something from your education, and they always refer to you as you know plenty. While they keep telling you the same things at least 3 or 4 times in every TV show on Discovery Channel, History Channel, they're repeating every time, and you get the experience that you knew that for a long time. Actually, they just told you 10 minutes ago, and use other words, use different digital narrative, put people in other temple, put, if we talk about Egypt, put some pyramids on the other side, and make us believe that we actually have learned something new right then, and that we already knew so many of it. So, summary is important. They keep summarizing things at the end, but not at the end like it should be. They keep summarizing it for at least 3 or 4 times during one show, though it may last for 30 minutes. they can be repeating it for 3 times. I talk about that show, Walking with Dinosaurs. That was a BBC show that it was made by, in that time, 1999. That was the first show, so I took everything the first, not the best, just the first. There's a lot of knowledge. It's made to be interesting for kids. It's made interesting for teenagers, for older people. It's not using any specific language. It uses a lot of languages. So we're hearing about paleontology. They're explaining us animatronics. They had research. If dinosaurs were walking like in movies before 1950s, they couldn't even walk. With that kind of tail and that kind of position of their legs, they couldn't even walk. So when my grandfather looks at dinosaurs that are filmed 40 years ago with some, I don't know, mechanical monstrums, he can say, okay, this is the way the dinosaurs walk. But actually now, with the help of all this knowledge from the animation, which made that look perfectly clear, from the animatronics, from the paleontology, from the, I don't know, zoologists or other professions, we now can see that the factual world of dinosaurs is traced from their birth to extinction. And what I want to say is that this show was made like a show Survival. It's an ITV show. It was aired 20, 30 years ago. Many people watch it, about wildlife, about animals in Africa, in, I don't know, South America or things like that. And they're used in the term, probably some people here are doing video on some kind of production. They were using specific camera movement, so we can believe that that is actually happening in a specific place, in a specific time. What Spielberg did is he put dinosaurs in our time, which kind of has a, I'm referring to the story that he said earlier, because the time and the place is very important for digital narrative as well, because it can help build digital narrative or it can destroy it, depending how do you use it. And the conclusion, this is my school project. I don't work only with this. It's my school project, and what I have learned from making it is that TV theory didn't theorists didn't research enough this area. They only took part of it from the movies and put it in TV. And I think that for education, because of its silence, because you're watching it like it's something, I don't know, something regular on TV, something not important, actually you're learning a lot from all kinds of, you can learn about human body, medicine. You probably saw some animation of how things work in our body, which could never be seen. And now already, even if we see some commercial that tells us if we drink some yogurt, we're going to have better stomach. They're using it and we're learning through that. That is digital narrative, because they're using animation, they're implanting in us that point of view that we are starting to think through digital world and through animation, things like that, that cannot be seen with our own eyes. So that's it. Thank you. If anyone has some questions.